Then two things happened to change her life. She was going through some old boxes stored in the house in Miami, which she was putting on the market, when she ran across an article she'd clipped from a magazine a few years back. It was entitled A Place Called Hope, and it detailed a small town where older people, foster children, and potential foster parents lived together in an intergenerational community. The town was the brainchild of a professor of sociology from the University of Illinois and was set up on a closed-down U.S. Air Force base. Bernadine found the stories of the residents and their interactions so moving and inspiring that when she was done, her eyes were misty. The children picked to live in Hope were the hardest to place: teens, sibling groups, children with special needs. Even though she'd spent most of her adult life as a pampered queen, the social worker she was inside had never died. As she put down the article, she felt as if her prayers had been answered. She now knew what God wanted her to do. And then the second thing happened. That evening, while eating dinner and checking out the news, one of the reporters profiled a tiny Kansas town that had put itself up for sale on eBay. The place was going under financially, and with no money to pay a mountain of outstanding tax bills, the residents were hoping to find a buyer to rescue them. As the story went on to reveal that the area had been settled by black folks in the 1880s and had a deep-rooted history, Bernadine was so excited she could barely sit still. When the TV story ended, she put down her fork, looked up, yelled out, "Thank you, Lord!" and ran to her computer. Hidden under the overpass of a Miami highway, 7-year-old Zoe Raymond pulled the big cardboard box over her head and closed herself inside. Night had rolled in, and in the darkness, she maneuvered herself so the box's flaps were firmly closed under her thin hips. She tried not to cry, because it wouldn't change anything. Her mother Bonnie was dead. Zoe had covered the body with all the rags and newspapers she'd been able to scrounge while out looking for food. But the shroud wasn't enough to keep the rats from desecrating her corpse. This was the second night, and they were on her again, squeaking and snarling and fighting each other. She'd tried to run them off the first time, but there'd been too many, so to protect herself, she scrambled under the box and sat quiet with her hands over her ears, and the screams stuck in her throat until the sun came up and they went away. But tonight, they seemed to know she was inside. They were scratching at the cardboard and bumping the box, and she was shuddering with terror and fear. She tried to keep the box level so it wouldn't tip over, but seconds later light appeared from a hole made by teeth. It grew larger. The assault on the box became manic, and then she and her box toppled. They swarmed over her like flies, and the last thing she remembered was the sounds of the rats and the night-piercing screams of a little girl. Chapter 1. Trenton July, the mayor of Henry Adams, Kansas, called the emergency town meeting to order with a bang of his gavel. "All right, let's get this started. Who wants to go first?" Riley Curry, the former mayor, rose to his feet. He was wearing his favorite pinstriped suit with its ever-present fake red carnation pinned to the shiny worn lapel. As always, he looked around for a moment to make sure all eyes were on him before speaking. "I'll start by demanding we rescind the offer." Murmurs of agreement rose from some of the 30 or so folks seated on the worn wooden folding chairs in the church's small sanctuary. But Trent saw disapproval on the faces of those who disagreed. "Offer's already been accepted, Riley. We signed the..."